Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to this epic gamer video. So, getting rare and strong items in World of Warcraft is part of the game's identity. However, in WoW's long history, there has been a number of extremely rare and hard to get items. Legendary items like the Warglaives of Azzinoth only scratch the surface of rare WoW items. So with that being said, let's get into the 7 rarest items in WoW of all time. Big Love Rocket. So a super rare item in World of Warcraft is an unusual looking mount named the Big Love Rocket. So this was a rare mount that could be obtained by the Valentine's Day event named Love is in the Air. During the event, in the random dungeon finder, you could get a bonus item named Heart-Shaped Box. This box could be obtained once per day during the 2-week Valentine's Day event. As you can guess, the Big Love Rocket has a chance of being in one of the heart-shaped boxes. However, it only has a 1 in 3,333 chance of dropping. Keep in mind, a character can only get 14 of these boxes per year, meaning if you farm each Valentine's event every year for the Big Love Rocket, it would take you 235 years of farming on average before you get this confirmed. I feel like Blizzard put this mount in as a cruel joke to mount collectors. Haunted Memento. Some of you may not recognize what this item is. However, during the Scourge Invasion event on Wrath of the Lich King, some of the undead mobs who were invading could drop a weird item named the Haunted Memento. This was a white item with no description or apparent effect besides being unique. After looting this item, you would be constantly stalked by an untargetable Shade NPC so long as you had this item in your inventory. Considering that this event happened over 10 years ago, many of the people who got the Haunted Memento dropped it, making it a cool, unique collectible item to today. Weirdly enough, you can sell this on the auction house and it goes for a few $100,000, so if you want to cop it for yourself, there you go. Pendulum of Doom. So the rarity of this item has definitely been nerfed, with all of the item scaling and dungeon scaling changing the loot tables in recent patches. However, at one point this level 39 axe was virtually impossible to get despite having the best stats for a level 39 twink character. The X factor of this weapon was massively slow attack speed of 4.0, which was a really big deal back in the earlier versions of WoW. This allowed your weapon to scale very well with damaging abilities that you had. The only issue was that this was one of the rarest items in WoW of all time, and at one point was the most expensive item, frequently selling for above gold cap. The axe had a tiny drop chance from the dungeon in Uldaman, and some of the trogs near the end of the dungeon had a 0.02 drop chance of the Pendulum of Doom. To get a Pendulum of Doom required thousands of clears of the dungeon, however that didn't stop people from farming it to get this OP weapon for their level 39 character.
Oh my god. Holy it just dropped. Pendulum of Doom just dropped. Oh my god, I actually got it. I just logged in real quick. 7,331 Alderman runs, and that's the first time I've seen that.
Chromatic Sword. So this sword is widely known in the transmog community as the only weapon in the game with a rainbow glow effect. Now obviously a unique item like this would be highly sought after by WoW players looking to stand out in the game world. However, getting this sword was no easy task. The item was first introduced into vanilla WoW where a rare mob in Stranglethorn Vale had a chance of dropping the sword. However, at the time it didn't have the glow effect, and only in TBC did Blizzard add the rainbow glow visual to the item. Now, just to get into the numbers of how hard this was to get, Scalebelly had a 24-hour respawn timer with the drop chance that people estimated to be anywhere from 0.6 to 4%. So, as you can imagine, this was extremely rare. However, not only that, but the Chromatic Sword at one point was taken out of the loot tables of the game completely when the Cataclysm expansion came out. So the only people who had this sword were people who farmed it in the old world and were willing to sell it now. For this reason, the Chromatic Sword was regarded as one of the rarest items in WoW of all time, with it frequently selling for above 10 million gold. However, now, today, Blizzard has put the Chromatic Sword back into Scalebelly's loot table, and it now has a 25% drop chance, so not as rare as it used to be, but definitely is still a collectible. They also nerfed the glow effect of the sword. Blizzard can be such fun police at times, honestly. Invincible Reigns. So rare and collectible mounts are definitely a cornerstone in World of Warcraft. There have been a number of mounts throughout the early days of WoW up to modern WoW which have been a very rare and hard to get thing. During the days of Wrath of the Lich King, the most prized mount in the expansion was the Invincible Reigns. This was an epic mount which dropped from the Lich King himself in the heroic 25-man version of Icecrown Citadel. It's a cool Lich King themed horse which in the WoW lore was a steed of Arthas before he became corrupted, which later got resurrected by Arthas when he became the Lich King. The issue with this mount is that it has a 0.78 chance of dropping from heroic Lich King. This is hard enough as it is to get a max level character that can steamroll through the raid each week. However, imagine how hard this was to get during the time when Icecrown Citadel was relevant. You would need to be in a hardcore raiding guild which would clear Icecrown Citadel heroic mode, then you would need to get a 0.78 drop chance, then you would need to be the 1 in 25 chance of winning the role to get this mount, which is assuming your guildmaster won't just nab it for himself. On average, assuming you were trying to get this mount during the Wrath of the Lich King, it would take you over 3,000 runs of heroic Icecrown Citadel on average before you would get this mount. Needless to say, this was the rarest item of the expansion, and even today when farming this mount, it's not a lot easier. A lot of mount collectors still haven't gotten Invincible. Recipe Thistle Tea. So during the early days of Vanilla WoW, there was a rogue-only class quest which resulted in you getting the cooking recipe for Thistle Tea. Thistle Tea is a consumable mostly used by PvP rogues in Vanilla and Classic to fully restore your energy. Up until patch 1.3 in Vanilla WoW, the recipe for Thistle Tea was not BOP, meaning players could trade it and sell it with each other. Of course, most rogues would get their cooking skill high enough to craft Thistle Tea themselves, however, some kept hold of it. Considering that patch 1.3 was so long ago, having an unused recipe like this is extremely rare. Now these days, you'll almost never see it, except for some of those times where OG players decide to put it up for auctions for millions of gold. Spellshock Leggings. So this is the most ridiculously hard to get item in WoW history, and it's called the Spellshock Leggings. During the earlier versions of WoW, from Vanilla to Wrath of the Lich King and Zul'Farrak, there are few ultra rare items that can drop, but the rarest is easily an item called the Spellshock Leggings. The stats are good for its level, but it's not valuable for a max level character. The only mobs that drop this are Antansul and Chief Akur's Sandskelp at a 0.01 drop chance. These are bosses, by the way. The combined drop chance would give you a 0.02 chance of getting these Spellshock Leggings in a Zul'Farrak run. You would need to run Zul'Farrak thousands of times on average before you saw these drop in earlier versions of WoW. Considering the numbers of mobs in Zul'Farrak, you only have really like a 0.00006% drop chance of getting this from mobs in Zul'Farrak. The interesting thing is that despite this having the most ludicrous drop rates in WoW, this only applied to Vanilla to Wrath of the Lich King's loot tables. After the revamp to this item, level scaling and loot chances being altered by modern versions of the game, the Spellshock Leggings are no longer a rare item and can be found easily on any auction house. However, for the time, there was nothing else quite as rare as the Spellshock Leggings in World of Warcraft history. Thanks for watching this Epic Gamer video. If you could drop a like and subscribe, that would mean a lot. See ya.